Texas, and this is my review of WWE's Great American Bash 2008. This is the... I will be honest, when I get to this review, this is probably the best gab I have seen since the WWE brought it back, as I have not liked a single one at all that they've ever done since they brought it back, which has kind of really bothered me. As this was, for those of you that do not know, this was one of WCW's key pay-per-views. It was Great American Bash, Fall Brawl with War Games, Starrcade were their biggies. And so when the WWE brought this back, and it hasn't been very good, it's always kind of bothered me. So I was glad to see this be improved, even though not greatly, but it was still improved. And I will tell everyone that loves to throw the B-word bias around that, in a lot of ways, the WWE at this pay-per-view sat down. It was like they sat down and they said, okay, TNA, if you're going to do your matches and your booking this way, we're going to show you how you do it right. And in a lot of ways, even though, you know, the pay-per-view was kind of that's kind of the way I look at it, because I think this was a good way of showing how how TNA often doesn't do things as good as the WWE does in a lot of ways. Just because they can do the WWE can do this almost the exact same way that TNA does, but they do things, they'll just change it just a little bit, or they'll do something just a little differently so that it works. Or their production staff actually knows what they're doing, and knows how to do the right camera angles, or when to cut away, or all of that. They are better at it than TNA is, and so often they are able to do things just TNA just cannot do for whatever reason. So you're gonna get a lot of that during this review. I'm just warning you. If you don't like that, I'm sorry, but I just watching the after I watched the pay-per-view. This wasn't during the pay-per-view, but after I watched the pay-per-view, that was very much how I felt, because I was like, you know what, that was kind of like a TNA pay-per-view, except that a lot of the stuff worked that normally doesn't work in a TNA event. So, and I'll get into that as I go along. But let's get started. We started with the Fatal 4-Way Tag Match with for the WWE Tag Team Championships, which, you know, are one of the most useless most useless championships WWE has right now. Maybe we'll see something after that a little bit later, but we had John Morrison, Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder versus Finlay and Hornswoggle versus Jesse and Festus. Jesse and Festus, in my opinion, are probably the third most over tag team. You had two of the most over tag teams in WWE in here, and John Morrison and The Miz, and Jesse and Festus, and then Prime Time, in my opinion, is the most over tag team in WWE, which I was kind of sad not to see them on the pay-per-view, but especially where we could have seen them. But I'll get to that in a little bit. Overall, I thought this was fun. I thought this was a fun little opener. Not great, but I thought it was fun, and I thought, considering everyone that was in there, particularly Hornswoggle, I do enjoy the Hornswoggle stuff because they book it correctly, where, you know, he hits his moves, but at the same time he's not in there enough where it's like disbelief. It actually, you kind of like, oh wow, that actually kind of makes sense that he would do that. And of course he gets beaten up and all of that, and the overall match made sense. Everything was good. It had its comical moments. It had its, you know, kind of heelish moments at the same time. So, and hopefully at the end of this match, with the Edgeheads winning, we will see the WWE Tag Team Championships maybe be used a little bit more. I would like that, since I am a mark for tag team wrestling. But I did enjoy this. I thought this was pretty enjoyable. I would say this. I hope Ring of Honor likes putting these on a lot, and I would just point out that I think, and, you know, Ring of Honor, the matches, as far as what goes on, are more exciting because you have more stuff going on. But this is a good way of showing that at the same time, the WWE style, you usually get a better story. It can be just as good for that reason, because it does slow down. You don't have to have spot for spot for spot for spot, even though that's fun. And, you know, if the WWE would ever kind of cross that style, the TNA ROH style, with their own style, and somehow find a more hybrid, which sometimes Ring of Honor does, and when they do, it's really good stuff. I think the WWE, a lot of their just so-so matches would be very good in a lot of people's opinions because they have the talent to do so. So there we go with that. Next, we had Matt Hardy versus Shelton Benjamin for the U.S. title. This was another almost good match, I would say. 2 3/4 stars. That's what the tag match was as well, by the way. 2 3/4 stars. This would have been a lot better, but Shelton just, for whatever reason, was sloppy. A lot of people would probably put that up to him just not being motivated, but he went over here. Yes, he won the U.S. title, which is a good thing. It looks like they're going to use him in some regards, so that's good. So you would think he would be a little more crisper here. We didn't see a lot of, aerial stuff from Shelton, but we did see a lot of good stuff. Same with Matt Hardy. They worked an okay match. Just, I don't know, maybe the chemistry with these two, because their SmackDown match was horrible, considering who you had in the ring. So maybe their chemistry is just off. Still another almost good, but not quite their match. So a good undercard match, I would say. And then we have Mark Henry versus Tommy Dreamer. People always ask me, because I liked this match, I thought it was okay, what it is that qualifies me when I get to like a star or less than 2 stars, because to me a 2-star match is just an okay average match. It's when I feel like I have to force myself to watch a match. That was not something I felt in this match. I know a lot of people aren't going to like this match because of Mark Henry, but I didn't feel like I was forcing myself to watch this match. Part of that was probably because I'm a big Tommy Dreamer mark. I was really hoping that maybe they would, let Tommy win just to, have a prolonged feud here and just give Tommy the nod, near New York City sort of thing. They didn't do that, but I did like the match. Tommy Delaney did turn on Tommy here, which does make sense. I know a lot of people are like, that doesn't make sense, but I think it does make sense in the term of that he doesn't want to be in Tommy's shadow. I don't think he's going to join Mark Henry. I think he's just going to turn. I think he's just turned on Tommy. So I did like that. I thought from all of that, I thought it was an okay match. Not like I said, I didn't feel like I was forcing myself to watch the match. And so there you go. A lot of people are going to think I overrated that, but there's my rebuttal to it. Next, we had a match a lot of people were looking forward to: Shawn Michaels versus Chris Jericho. A very good match in my opinion. Probably not the match people thought we were going to get, but I think that match is probably what we will get at the Great American Bash or something along those lines. Very brutal, very hostile, a lot of MMA type of things, and this is a match that I think really demonstrates how the WWE can take something that TNA did, because this was very much like the Booker T Joe match in a lot of ways, in that Chris Jericho cut Shawn Michaels open, got Shawn Michaels bleeding, worked on it, had Shawn where he couldn't even defend himself. They teased and they teased and they teased that the ref would stop it, and then the ref finally stopped it, and it made sense, and you got it. And the fact that, Shawn Michaels looked completely out of it, and it looked like Chris Jericho had just destroyed Shawn Michaels. It told a very good story. You had 2 guys in here who can tell a good story, and I think that, going back to, the match at Victory Road, both of those guys can tell a good story too, because we've seen it from both guys. So I think they just told a better story. I think they just understood how to do it better. This probably could have been a whole lot better as far as pacing. I think the last probably 2 to 5 minutes was just trying to drag on a little bit, and the fact that I think if they would have cut it shorter than they did, this probably could have maybe been a great match. But it did go a little long, and I kind of felt bored near the end, because you definitely see where they were going, and they kind of prolonged a little bit. But still, a very good match. I'd give it 3.5 stars. There we go. Next, we had Michelle McCool versus Natalya for the Divas title. Yay. This was not good. 1.5 stars. Wow. Next, we had CM Punk versus Batista, and a match that I think everyone was kind of looking forward to and not looking forward to, because they were afraid that Batista would go over CM Punk. It's not what we had happen. They were having a very good little match here. Batista showed up. I think Batista knew he would have to show up because I think that if he pulled his regular garbage of not showing up, making people kind of look bad, even though I don't think that's necessarily his intention, but just, you know, not being motivated, I think CM Punk, I think CM Punk would have tried to drag out the best match he could with him. They had a good little match here. It was going along a lot better than I thought. They were telling a fairly nice story, and then the WWE screwed it up by having a Kane run in, which pretty much, even though it was a disqualification, it's kind of, I don't know, it just didn't feel good. But it was still a good match for what it was. You could definitely see that they were setting up. This whole pay-per-view was just them setting up for SummerSlam. Still a good match, 3 stars. I really liked what they were doing. I would love to see them actually prolong this feud because this was going on to be a great match. It really was. I would have loved to have seen what CM Punk and Batista would have been able to do when they got to the end, particularly with a good finish. So there you go. Next we had John Cena versus JBL in their New York garage street fight. A lot of people are gonna not like this. I thought this was fun. I thought this was enjoyable. Again, I didn't feel like I was forcing myself to watch this, even though it was very over the top and very silly and corny at times. I didn't really mind it because I was enjoying it. I was entertained with it. Which, again, when you go back and you look at some things that TNA does, this is the sort of thing that, for whatever reason, it just came off better. I think the production values probably help a lot here. The fact that, John Cena and JBL, are good. Even though JBL isn't the greatest wrestler in the world, he is good at getting over with facial expressions and those types of things. Like I said, they did silly things with the cars catching on fire and trying to kill each other with cars and battery cables and all sorts of crazy, wild, over-the-top stuff. Though I didn't mind it very much, and I did enjoy it. I was having a good time during this match. Thought the ending was very well booked. 2 3/4 stars. A lot of people are gonna say I completely overrated that, but I don't care. I enjoyed it while watching it, and that's the big thing with me. Next we have Triple H versus Edge, and these two had a good match, not a great match, and the whole storyline throughout the entire pay-per-view was the Edge Vicky Guerrero storyline, which I think they pulled off pretty well. It completely makes sense for Edge to, be cheating on Vicky and then Vicky be upset and the whole thing. And Triple H kind of just bringing it all to light. Again, they had an okay match. Or not an okay, but they had a good match, not a great match. And I think the storyline actually kind of helped. It kind of made sense because it was a lot more of, Triple H just was able to, kind of use his wily ways to get the best over Edge by all these things that Edge had, behind him, kind of using that against him. And I think it worked. I think it's worked in the storyline mode. The end was kind of to be honest, with Edge spearing Vicky, and it was kind of nonsense. But it was entertaining. 3.5 stars. Again, this was another one of those things where I think TNA, for whatever reason, when they try to do stuff like this, they just, I don't know what it is, they just cannot seem to pull it off as well. They would have prolonged it, they would have, done things, and it just wouldn't have worked, even though, I don't know. Maybe it is me being biased, I don't know, but I don't think it worked quite as well. Overall, I thought this was an enjoyable pay-per-view. I would say almost good, but I just didn't feel like there was, even though I felt it was almost good, I just felt like I was watching a really good episode of Raw, to be honest. A lot of this stuff I think could have happened on Raw. There was also a very good promo by Chris Jericho after he beat Shawn Michaels that was just eerily good, that I think added a bit to this pay-per-view. But I'd give this a 6.75. Almost good, just not quite there. But, what you gonna do? So there we go. An enjoyable pay-per-view, not a good pay-per-view, but just because it did feel like very much Raw and not pay-per-view worthy, so I wouldn't put it in the good category. But definitely not a bad show, just kind of an okay show, slightly good. But that's all for this one. I'm out. Have a good one.